The Last Cigarette, a story of courage and change. The first time Rohan held a cigarette, he was only 16. It wasn't because he wanted to. It was because everyone around him made it look glamorous. At school, in the back corner of the playground, the cool boys lit their sticks of fire and puffed like little chimneys. They looked confident, rebellious, grown up. Rohan had always been shy, the kind of boy who avoided eye contact when teachers asked questions. He wanted to belong. He wanted to be noticed. And so, when his classmate handed him that first cigarette, he took it, hesitant but determined not to look weak. The smoke burned his throat, his eyes watered, and his stomach churned. But he forced himself to laugh as if it were the best feeling in the world. That day, he made a choice he didn't yet understand. The chain that tightened. Years passed. What began as an occasional puff after school became a habit. In college, cigarettes were his study partner. While others sipped coffee during late-night sessions, Rohan had his lighter in his pack. At first, he believed he controlled it. I can quit anytime, he told himself. But he never did. By the time he got his first job, the cigarette had become his silent companion. During office breaks, when stress mounted, or when loneliness crept in, he reached into his pocket. It was always there, comforting yet demanding. When he started dating Neha, she frowned at his smoking. "Rohan, this will ruin you," she said gently one evening. "You're stronger than this." He smiled, nodding, but deep down, he was terrified. He knew he wasn't stronger. He knew the cigarette was stronger than him. The wake-up call. One winter morning, as Rohan climbed the stairs to his third-floor office, he felt breathless. Not the usual tiredness, but a suffocating weight on his chest. His hands trembled as he clutched the railing. By the time he reached his desk, he was pale. His manager insisted he see a doctor. Tests followed, and then came the words that shook him to his core. "You have the beginnings of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD). If you don't quit smoking immediately, your lungs will deteriorate rapidly." The doctor's voice was calm but firm. "Rohan, you are 32 years old. Do you want to live like a patient for the rest of your life?" The image of his father, strong and healthy even at 60, flashed before his eyes. And here he was, half his father's age, struggling to breathe. That night, as he sat alone on his balcony with a cigarette in his hand, tears filled his eyes. For the first time, the cigarette didn't look like a friend. It looked like a slow, smiling killer. The battle begins. Quitting wasn't easy. The first day without smoking felt like torture. His hands shook, his head pounded, and his body craved the nicotine it had been fed for years. He grew irritable, snapping at colleagues and withdrawing from friends. But Neha stood by him. One day at a time, she reminded him. On the third day, when the craving was unbearable, he crushed an entire pack in anger and shouted, "I can't do this." Neha held his hand and whispered, "Every time you resist, you're not losing. You're winning." So, he fought. He chewed gum, jogged in the mornings, wrote in a journal whenever the urge struck. The cravings came like waves, strong and unforgiving, but he clung to the shore with determination. The turning point. Weeks later, something miraculous happened. One morning, he woke up and realized he hadn't thought about smoking the night before. For the first time in over 15 years, he had gone a full day without the itch. He began to notice changes. His cough reduced, his sense of taste returned, and the heaviness in his chest eased. The stairs no longer felt like mountains. He laughed more freely, and even his skin glowed. But the greatest change wasn't physical. It was inside him. He realized he was stronger than he had ever imagined. The cigarette had always whispered, "You can't live without me." But now, he could proudly say, "I don't need you." The bigger purpose. Months later, during a corporate seminar, he was asked to share a personal story of resilience. Nervously, he stood before the crowd and spoke about his journey of quitting smoking. To his surprise, people listened intently. Some even had tears in their eyes. A young intern approached him afterward and said, "Sir, I've been struggling with smoking for 2 years. After hearing you, I feel I can fight it too." That day, Rohan realized his story wasn't just about him. It was about giving hope to others trapped in the same chains. He started volunteering at health awareness campaigns, speaking to students, young professionals, and even workers at factories. Each time he stood on stage, he remembered that frightened 16-year-old boy who thought smoking was the only way to belong. And he wished someone had told him then what he now told others. Strength doesn't come from lighting a cigarette. It comes from refusing one. A letter to the cigarette. On the anniversary of his quitting, Rohan wrote a letter, not to a person, but to the cigarette itself. Dear cigarette, you entered my life when I was young and naive. You promised me confidence, but you only gave me weakness. You promised me relief, but you gave me disease. You promised me friends, but you left me alone on hospital beds. But today, I am free. I have chosen life over you. I have chosen love, health, and happiness. You will not trick me again. Goodbye, forever. The legacy of change. Years later, Rohan became a father. One evening, his little daughter found an old lighter in a drawer and asked innocently, "Papa, what's this?" He smiled and replied, "That's something I once thought I needed. But then I realized I needed you, your mom, and this beautiful life more." She giggled and ran away, unaware of the storm her father had once survived. And as Rohan watched her play, he knew his greatest victory wasn't quitting smoking. His greatest victory was proving to himself that no matter how deep the darkness, there is always a way back to light. Moral of the story. Cigarettes don't just burn tobacco, they burn health, happiness, and dreams. Quitting isn't easy, it's a battle fought every single day, but every moment of resistance is a step toward freedom. Rohan's journey reminds us that strength doesn't lie in following the crowd or surrendering to weakness. True strength is in saying no to the habits that destroy us, and yes to life, health, and love. If you or someone you know is trapped by cigarettes, remember this: the first step is the hardest, but once you take it, the world opens up with possibilities you never thought were possible. Life is too precious to be lost in smoke.